Go.
Woohoo! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here it
What?
comes.
What?
Uh-oh.
What?
Oh, stop. Stop.
Killing it, Iona. Ladies and gentlemen, on the wheels of steel, Iona Morris Jackson.
Hey, hey, hey. And Phil Morris,
Right,
lusciousness.
I'm just the greeter dancer. How y'all doing? Good to see you. You feeling good tonight?
Happy Wednesday.
Hey!
Oh, look at this. Patricia Pink, Leslie Sides.
Dee Peterson, what's
David
happening?
Peters. Good morning from
Leslie.
Malaysia.
Oh, Leslie, I need to
Ooh.
look at that. Leslie Side sent me an audition that I haven't been able to look at because we'll talk about why I haven't been able to look at it. But I am going to look at it, and she wants me to comment on it. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. But,
Oh, I can't
thank
wait.
you, Leslie, for sending that. Yeah.
Awesome.
How are you? How are you,
Kosol.
Iona?
Woohoo. Everybody
Kosol,
else.
what's up? Jeannie,
Woohoo.
cranking?
What time is it, David Peterson,
am-
in Malaysia?
I'm test driving glasses. Excuse me, people.
Okay.
I'm
Oh, okay.
doing my test driving. Phil's new glass
see.
thing going on.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, David.
Quentin.
It is morning time in Malaysia.
Mhm.
It's so good. I'm so happy that he's here. And Iona, you look beautiful, lovely as always.
Oh, Philly, thank you. You too, huh, honey? You see, I
You know, it's good.
got a little
Look at you, I know, right?
gel
Like I cut short here for what I'm doing. All kinds of stuff. It's been a good week, been an amazing week. Happy to be back. Grateful once again to be here.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait for you to tell us, Phil, what you're doing.
Well, yeah, it's it's like when our guest comes on, he'll speak to this as well. There's certain things that you can speak on and be glowing about them, and there's other things that they say shut up until we tell you you can talk about it because we want to make it something and we don't want you
Official.
messing it up, little actor dude.
That's
So
right.
I'm just waiting, and it's just such an amazing project. I really, really love this. It's why I got into movies. I told you it's real like fantasy stuff, riding horses and deep involvement and great character arcs and all the stuff that you kind of as a kid, especially me as a kid growing up around our dad and growing up on sets, seeing this amazing level of artistry. It's what you strive for. It's what you want to be involved with, and that's this. Every bit
So
of it.
happy for you. So happy
Thank
for
you.
you, honey.
Thank
Can't
you.
can't
Thank you. Thank
wait. It's gonna be really cool. Everybody's gonna go. Oh yeah, that's gonna be great. We will watch. I won't say what it is, but if for the
Soon
right
enough.
price.
No. You can't upset the powers that be like that. You must go along with the party line to a degree.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
glad you're back, Phil. I had to.
Thank
put
you.
that. We
I'll be
missed you
gone again
last
tomorrow
week.
afternoon. Yeah, I'll be gone tomorrow afternoon. I'll be back in Canada
Yeah.
doing what I got to do.
And hopefully you'll be with us next Wednesday.
I will be somehow.
Let me see. Wait a minute. I've had a great week. I'm working
Yeah,
with
I
some
was
really
waiting for
cool
that.
people, coaching on Papa's House, working with a wonderful actor. I'll just say that. And it's just wonderful. I love the work. I love coming in and seeing people improve and not just taking that what I'm doing is for this moment. I tell them, take it into your next gig.
Right.
Take these
Right.
tools I'm giving you.
Well,
And
they're very
so I
lucky to
love
have you.
that.
They're very lucky to have you. And
Thank
can I
you.
say, without giving too much away, you're working with a comedic genius? Just
Yes, I
saying.
am.
Just saying. Your mind can reel, and wander. But yes, Iona is working with a comedic genius, and on the show Papa's House, which is the Damon Wayans and Damon Jr. show, just so everybody can catch up. And so proud of you, Iona, with all the things you're doing and what you're going to be doing.
Thanks, honey. It's really cool. Yeah, more to come. More to come for both of us. Both of us. I
Spit
got
it
an
out,
echo in
woman.
my ear, you guys, and I don't know why that happens, but really excited.
I
Yeah,
can't
my
hear it.
wife and kids. You can't hear it? Fantastic. So, should we talk about
Yeah.
our next guest?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
we
do
should.
that because
Okay, I know him.
close.
You know him. This is my manager and friend, Stephen Adams. He is just terrific, you guys. So I'm going to Stephen. He's an award-winning producer. He's a founding partner of Alta Global Media. He represents actors, writers, directors, and international media companies. He's actively developing film and television projects. He is a producer on the Netflix original adaptation of Gwen Fear Smith's solo performance. It's a piece about Rodney King.
Mm,
Roger Guenveur
mm.
Smith, we're going to have him on the show. He's one of the most brilliant performers. So interesting. And Phil, well, I went to high school with him. And Roger is just really terrific. He's also
He was a legend.
VFX. What,
He was a
baby?
high school legend. Roger was a high school legend. We'll
High
talk
school
about that
legend.
later. Hmm.
VFX executive producer for French VFX. He's involved in Europe heavily and South Africa. Steven's amazing. And just to fill you guys in with more, I'm going to play just a little video to let you know what else Steven is doing and some brilliant people he's representing. Ladies and gentlemen, Steven Adams. Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Marvelous.
Better now, buddy. Better
Right,
now.
right,
I
right.
appreciate it.
This is your third time with us, Steven.
I take that as a great honor.
Hey, hey, we
Well,
do too.
we're
We,
happy. We're happy you're here. We're honored to have you. I mean, we have who are walking your walk and talk about, and in your shoes. So happy to have you and your professionalism, your knowledge, your creativity. Appreciate you, brother.
mm-hmm.
Well, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun and make it humorous too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Steven,
go ahead, Anna. You
go
start
ahead.
because
Oh, well,
my guy.
well, before we get into what we wanted to talk to you about, just tell us where you come from. Other people know from other shows, but just tell us, where do you hail from? How did you get here? Hollywood?
Well, I grew up in Oakland, California, which has its own weirdness. I grew up with a father who had been a kid in LA, and always when I talked about LA and Hollywood, he was no, 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 not a great place, not a good place. Bad things happen there. Bad people are there. And as I said, being a dutiful son, I did the right things. But one day I just decided I had to get down to LA, so I did it anyway. And years went by, and his mother died. His mother, who I never met, and it turned out his parents. The reason he disliked Hollywood so much is that his parents had worked in the business, and his mother was the social secretary for Hattie McDaniel, and his father was an accountant who had a lot of actors of the day, a lot of the black actors of the day, and they were down in the West Adams area before they drove the freeway through it. So
Mm.
that's a whole other conversation about LA. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. When he was a little boy, he talks about what it was like because he made this offhanded comment because my father's 94, and he said, one day when they were starting to build the freeway, and I looked, I was like, wait, what? Before, I mean, I hadn't even thought about what Los Angeles might have been like before the freeway system.
Check it out.
And he started telling me about the red cars and what life was like, and
Hmm.
the the what it did to the city, and no one had ever really done this to an American city before. I was fascinated, so I've been down the rabbit hole on the American freeway system for a while now, and I'm
Mm.
fascinated.
Well,
Mm.
But
it is one
anyway,
of the
yeah,
greatest in the
that's my
world.
long-winded story. That's how I wound up here. So,
That
So,
is crazy good. But Hattie McDaniel, so people know, if you don't know, first African American to win an Academy Award for Gone with the Wind. Um,
Mhm.
played many of those roles throughout her lifetime. She was an incredible woman. Um, that is wild. I did not know that, Stephen.
I didn't know it until until I was 27 years old,
Wow.
which was crazy. And my father said, "Yeah, you know, I tried to keep you out of Hollywood, but you did it anyway." And so I was like, "Well, you're right." But you know, I have a great collection of those pictures, which
Mm.
I hang on my office wall. So
The
I
book.
take
I
the
can't wait for the
inspiration.
book.
Well, there's definitely a couple of books in there.
I bet.
Did you ever want to be a performer, or was it always behind the scenes kind of stuff you wanted for
A
yourself?
little bit. I tried it for a little while, but what I found myself doing was analyzing everybody else's work and realizing that. And I remember being on stage and the director said, "You know, I appreciate the comments you're giving to everybody, but if you'd like to continue that, could you just get off the stage and sit next to me and we'll make room for somebody who actually wants to perform?" So I was like, well, I guess that's the end of that career.
Ah! One door closes, another one opens.
I knew where I belonged. It wasn't there.
That is hilarious.
Gosh, I love it.
Well, that feeds right into kind of what we're of my mind because with this YouTube channel that we're making and trying to create and expand our reach, you were definitely the driving force for all of this, as far as I can see, with Iona and assisting Iona in knowing that she had to expand her reach. And please correct me if I'm wrong, in the social media space, which is how then Iona and I started to do this, and now it's evolved into this incredible platform that houses this amazing village that we have. And what I wanted to really get into were the advocates that we need in our lives, the champions that we need to assist us with the vision that we have going forward, especially if you're trying to achieve things on a high level in the entertainment industry or in other places. So um, you are certainly that, and you certainly have been that for this particular project. And it's really important to me. My manager, Christopher Barrett, is big in my career and has helped me quite a bit objectify things that I cannot and maybe should not be objective about. And so that's really what I want to talk about. And when you talk about how you felt in you more of the person who could guide as opposed to the person to be guided, um, I want to know where that comes from. Why is that so important to you? I know why it's important to me. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I feel like at the core of everything we're doing, it's all storytelling. But you just have to understand which corner you're sitting in when you're telling the story. Am I passionate about a story where I can get help support a structure that lets other people express the actual actions? That's kind of where I think my passion is. So I'm a tenacious, some might say stubborn, but a person who won't let go of a goal until it's achieved in some way or form. And I feel like what we're doing is so important. I think, when I think back to my childhood and looked at films and television and I loved the world that it was portraying, except for one thing. I didn't see anybody, very, very many people like us in it.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents, the parents of other people that I know and who've been on your show before, like Diane Carroll and her daughter, Suzanne. But, that was a rare thing. I mean, it was a big deal when you see somebody of color on the screen. And I remember like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, so and so, look, people would run from another room to see this.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It was an
for
event.
those who, it
That's
was an
right.
event because it was so rare. And I guess, as black people, we were lucky because you really weren't seeing anybody else, so, you really didn't see that. And so I knew that this was an important area because it shapes the way that people see everything in the world. I mean, much more important than anybody gives it credit for. There are attitudes we have about things that we've never experienced because we have absorbed them from films and television. So I wanted to be a part of this, and I feel like this is the goal. We have to tell the right stories. We have to tell stories that are authentic. We have to tell all the stories of in the full spectrum of what it means to be a human. And we're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of getting there in this country. Um, it's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about my work with the African continent because I feel like you know Western culture has suppressed and colonized for long enough. People are decolonizing, and it's a very youthful continent, and it's a continent whose stories have been held back by the West for a
Mm-hmm.
long time,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time for people to express themselves, and it's happening very quickly. And it's also an exciting place where there's a burgeoning middle class and upper class of people who are finally realizing the results of the natural wealth that's already in there under their ground and around them. So it's a for me it's a watershed moment for Africa and African diaspora storytellers.
What's so great too, Stephen, what you're saying is now not just us, but we're seeing more Latinos, we're seeing more Asians, we're seeing more indigenous people being represented, and not just in one episode or just for a moment, but they're actually carrying productions now on television. Streaming has opened up so much with so many different platforms to have so many different shows and productions that are out there, and it's wonderful because that's how our children get a chance to see themselves. And
Exactly.
yeah, we are smart people. We do have colors in us as human beings. And you're a part of that, just looking at the diversity of your client list and the
They're
areas.
from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always loved humanity and all of its diversity. And you're right. I mean, even the difference in ability or gender issues, what all those things are make up the human fabric, and it isn't really interesting to suppress parts of that to the detriment of one to the benefit of the other. I mean, I think there's room enough for all of it to happen. All I insist on is a good story being told.
Right, right,
Don't
right.
bore me, don't
Well,
disappoint
yeah,
me.
yeah. And
Come
be
on now.
honest. Be honest if you can be. If you can be,
That's the
if you
only
can't be
line I
honest, be
draw.
interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Um, but you mentioned Africa, and maybe we talked about this before, and I've forgotten it. But what was the draw to the continent that is pretty much the most diverse and plentiful on the planet?
It is something I've always wanted, and the universe is an interesting host. I don't know what you want to call it, but I started focusing on, I'm like, this is the time to do this thing that I wanted to do, and I just started putting out feelers and talking to people, and I wound up being referred to the Africa Channel, and I wound up consulting for them, and I
But but
wound up,
but but I know. But why Africa? I mean the beyond the why is what you're talking about. But what in you was like, this is my connection? What was that connection? That's what I'm looking for.
Well, I wanted to learn about it, and I believe that learning firsthand is the key. I mean, I felt like I hadn't seen enough, and what I did see was a lot of BS, if
Right.
you'll pardon my
Mm-hmm.
French. And I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't. I don't like being told something that is a fact about anywhere or anyone. I need to see with my own eyes. And so I took it upon myself to make it a part. The way I wind up traveling is I always want to make something a part of my business, and then I get to go. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to I wanted to spend a lot of time in France. I've done that. There's a lot of time in England. I do that. If I want to go somewhere, I'm like, okay, how can I tie this into a business goal that is real, and then I'll go there and spend a month or two or three, and not and contribute.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing in Africa, in London, in France, and I know it's also to the Middle East. Are you producing films? Are you producing television? Are you finding talents that your actors or writers, producers? What is it that you're doing?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, ha ha ha.
I have clients in London. I have clients in Paris. I have clients in South Africa. I have clients in Lagos, Nigeria.
Mm.
One of my wonderful clients, Jimmy Jean Louis, who you know,
Love Jimmy.
uh,
We got to have
just
him on.
we yes, you do. And Jimmy's publishing a book, so I'll let him tell you all about that. But Jimmy, has a similar, globalist view. And, oftentimes we get involved with projects that are brought to him as producers as well. And one of those really amazing opportunities was a film called The Goat Life, which is a Malayalam language film, which is a large language group in India. Um, and we came on board as producers. And this film broke box office records there, It's now
Mm-hmm.
streaming on Netflix, and it's things like that where these unlikely bridges occur because you're
Mhm.
open to them and you make them happen. And we've had clients. Um, I'm slowly introducing all these international people to Hollywood, and who knows what's going to come out of that. We're in a very interesting moment of, as we're calling it, the Great Retraction. But it's a moment where I think it's more aptly put as a moment of metamorphosis. And yes, I think Phil, you mentioned earlier, we change a lot here,
Mhm.
and we have to navigate the changes. But this one is pretty extreme. This one is like welcome to the 21st century, as you will live it soon. So
Yeah, yeah. This is a peek into our future. The present is really speaking about the future. So,
yeah,
before it was the evolutions were so massive when corporate America came into the studio system vis-a-vis Gulf Western, buying up Paramount or Sony, buying the Burbank Studios and MGM. Whether it was from broadcast to cable or cable to satellite or VHS to DVD, and there's been so many huge shifts, not always evolving. I don't know if this is an evolution. I think this is just a transition. Um, but it ain't going to stop for any one voice. And we all have to try to be as flexible and accepting as we can in order to continue the expression that we really want to have in our journey. You know, so it's really incumbent upon us to be smart about what else we do and how we do it.
I completely agree with that. I think that we're at a moment where things are chaotic, they are confusing, they are unnerving. Tens of thousands of people have lost their jobs in the studio slash network
Mm-hmm.
system. That is not an exaggerated number that I'm sharing. I looked at the feature film grids, which are usually 230, 250 pages to 300, and there were 25 pages of films. I mean, we're dealing with something that is pretty extreme. And yes, we will not. The film business will not go to into dormancy. It's just trying to figure out its next step. I think, though, my point about this is that creative people need to also be racking their brains to find solutions, which could become the blueprint for the way we do things. I think that there's a return to independent film, which was almost killed.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are a little bit tired of the. You mentioned it, Phil. I mean, when you're talking about these acquisitions of studios, that's 60 years ago. Now we're in these mega, conglomerates that
The
can barely
Apples, the
manage
Googles, yeah,
themselves.
absolutely, the
Yeah,
Amazons of the world. Yeah.
and they're making decisions right now, which are evidenced by the lack of production in a way that is completely uh, and I wouldn't even say just doesn't even recognize the number of lives that are being impacted by the lack of spending because they literally are controlling the spigots here.
There's no
So
care for how it's affecting people's lives. These are people's lives. They're not just numbers on a spreadsheet.
it's so corporate that that's not even it clearly was not a thought.
Yeah.
No, and
Yet I
because
spent
Yes.
their income does not come from our industry. The bulk of their
no.
income
No.
does not come
No.
from it comes from telecommunications,
No.
computers,
No.
chips,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. We're a side light for them. We're not main. We're not a main course for them. So they can afford in their minds to slough us off because we don't create the return that their main business does.
This is
I absolutely agree with that.
this is fun. There's stars. There are parties. There's
Yeah,
so
we're a
forth and
commercial for
so
them.
on. Mm-hmm. It's my
Basically.
hobby, my passion. And Stephen, there's something you mentioned that I want to go back to. You mentioned, and I'm going to paraphrase, and I hope you can kind of remember. I was responding to one of our Jamaica Sue. She's not feeling well, and all the people who sent her messages. I just love our folks. Just so wonderful. You spoke about when Phil was asking you about getting into Africa and going over to Europe. What were you doing? You talked about you had a thought about what you wanted to do and you put it out there and you just started meeting people and then one thing led to another and then doors opened. Can you speak to that in terms of people who, oh man, I want my career to go a certain way. And not necessarily in our industry, any industry. or career. I'm looking to create something in my life and I'm stuck and I'm how do I move forward? Can you speak to that about risking, about jumping out, making the phone calls? Again, something you mentioned that got us over 100,000 views of a short when Diane Carroll told you at a party where there's free booze, free food, go up there and talk to 10 people and bring their information to me.
Right.
Can you
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that there's, I think there's you got to be kind of tough with yourself. I mean, I think that it's, changes are hard. Shifting is difficult. When the ground that you've been standing on very firmly starts to tremble or even disappear, it is very unnerving. If you are in danger of losing a home because your economic structure is challenged and you've got to pull people out of kids out of school, these are not things that are easily, uh, you don't just rebound from that. And that's happening to a lot of people right now. And I
Mhm.
know a lot of people I'm talking to who feel like failures at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like, where have I gone wrong? When in fact, it's not they have gone wrong, but it's the system, as we're saying, that is simply disregarding this element in order to correct its books and find its way forward. Because I mean, I just spent time on the Universal lot. They have spent billions on new buildings there. They're not planning on going out of business. They're just going to be doing business differently. So, it behooves us to, you know, brace up, take a good look at what you want, and figure out how to get it. It's not easy always, but there are transferable skills. Sometimes there are things you've always wanted to do. Maybe this is the time. I think that it's good to challenge yourself at a moment when you're already being challenged. Why not take a few risks as well?
What
And
does that look like?
don't
What does that look like when you say take a few risks? What does that look like? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think sometimes, like, when you have these dreams that you want to achieve, I mean, we can all get comfortable with the way things are going if they're going well enough. And sometimes that is the kiss of death to the actual dream.
Mm.
And other times you are, doing well, but what was helping you to prosper no longer exists. And you have to be frank about that with yourself. And that means looking at other industries. That means figuring out other industries. That means taking your transferable skills and moving them elsewhere. That means maybe the thing that you considered a minor superpower becomes the leading uh, element of what you do for a while or permanently, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Or, as we're saying, like a lot of the industry is moving back to independent film, which is pretty much written off as being, why bother when we can make so much money in television, especially
Mhm.
on streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And those rates aren't around right now, guys. So we have to be clever. We have to maybe embrace branding. We have to do a lot of other things that we might not have been doing before.
Mm. Mm.
That's exactly what we're doing here on The Vision is Possible. That's
That's right.
exactly what we're doing. And you mentioned so many wonderful gems in there, Stephen, and none the least of which is, you have to brace up.
Yeah.
You have to
And
brace up.
it's easier said than done, for sure.
Well, that's why you have to brace up. If it was easy, you'd say, this is easy, people, boom, boom. You wouldn't say you have to brace up. I
Yeah.
was having a conversation with some folks a while back, and they're talking about the dissension in the country right now and how difficult things are, and we're so divided, and there's so much dissension, blah, blah, blah. And they were of a more homogenous hue. Let's just say that, these people. And I said, black people wake up every day thinking, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? We wake up with a head on a swivel, eyes wide open. We know nothing different than that. Y'all just getting a little taste of it now. Things are just getting uncomfortable for you. It's not that the world is changing, it's evolving. It's just not going the way you wanted it to go and how you thought it should be. But I wake up every single day as an actor, as an artist, struggling every day. I struggle with my next job, getting the audition that I have in front of me right. It's I don't have a chance to rest on my laurels. Is that's what I'm saying. And so that it helps me when the world changes because I'm always trying to evolve to keep up with my journey and my truth. And I think we've been narcotized a little bit in this country into thinking that, we're America, we got it, this is our way or the highway kind of a thing. And that's just not the way it's playing out any longer.
Mhm.
We
No.
must brace ourselves up and look at the risks and the changing and the evolution of your own journey so that you can make that change and assist the others that are having their transition now too. Very
I
interesting
couldn't
time
agree with
period.
you more. I couldn't agree with you
So
more. I
true.
think this is a somebody just put a comment on about post COVID, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
2019 to 2020 were like two different planets.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, celebrating with you, Iona, at our Oscar party in the top of 2020, and in 2021, it seemed like another lifetime, another era. The way
Mm-hmm.
people are, nostalgic about life as it was back then, and but you can't stay there. You cannot keep looking backwards. It is dangerous to do that. And yes, wonderful memories, wonderful days. We must gather wisdom from the things we've experienced, but we cannot live in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It is not,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It's not
that's it. You're
Sustainable.
done.
peaceful.
You're
It's
done.
You
You're
can't
done.
sustain
I mean,
that.
you
yes.
were amazing in 1992, but that was 32
Right.
years ago.
What
Come
have
on.
you done for me lately?
That's all the culture
People,
cares about.
you
And it's
see
so.
this gray hair up in here? Excuse me 1 second now. You see all this, people? I go with the flow. I'm no longer a young leading man. I am me today. And as I accept me today, that resonates. I'm not trying to fake the funk. I'm in this to win it the way I am traveling it. I'm not trying to be anything different. And I think a lot of us have been faking the funk. We getting found out. Yeah, COVID was tough. Things are tough. But who are you in it? Can you spin this into a teachable moment for yourself? Can you wake up the next day and find the light? Ion and I talk about this political process all the time.
Hmm.
And no matter what happens, no matter who wins, I'm still going to live in this country, and I am
Yes.
going to have to
Of course.
support how my journey is in this country, whether I like it or I don't like it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's going on. People aren't liking this, and they're like they're in their feelings. And
Well, listen, Phil, you said something, and I wanted to put a circle around it because I agree with this wholeheartedly. The Black experience is uh, an incredible American experience. And we are, in many ways, the heart and soul and the moral compass of the country. And so
Mm-hmm.
how we're treated pretty much reflects what the evolution of everybody else is, morally, ethically, culturally. Because whatever they're willing to tolerate being done to us shows you where they are morally. And in terms of evolution culturally, that's a lot of our suffering is a reflection of our brethren and where they are in their evolutionary journeys. But I do believe this country always evolves forward. And I do think that part of the struggle that we're going through right now needs to be looked at, as I keep saying, as an opportunity. Yeah, it's very uncomfortable. Yes, the future is very uncertain. Yes, we're dealing with we have barely begun to see what the impact of technology is going to be like. AI has not dropped the other shoe, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that a a driverless car is something you wait 10 more years and see what's going on. And where does that leave us as humans? What is the story going to be then?
mm,
Part of us
So,
evolving. Right. Go ahead, Stephen. No, go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm saying, so we better go ahead and embrace the future because it's happening whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rigidity of being stuck in the past is dangerous. You become intractable. You become conservative. You want things to go backwards. You
mm,
want things to be great again. The fact is, the only way that we're going to achieve greatness is by going forward, not back. Again is a dangerous word. Sorry, I'm getting a little political here.
I love it. I
Again
love
It's all
it.
means
right,
we're
baby. We're with
Against
you.
repeating
nature.
we're repeating the past. Because I'm going to ask you, when was it great, baby? Because tomorrow is the best day ever.
Right. Today
You
is the
know,
best day ever. Right.
today
Because this
is,
is the
and
only thing that's
tomorrow will be
promised.
better. We're in the
Yes.
here and now.
And
Because
mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk you through the history. Was it great when we were slaughtering Native Americans? Was it great when we held people in slavery? Was it great during Jim Crow? Was it great when you lynched people till damn near the 80s?
Come on.
No. Is it great now during mass incarceration? We still have work to do to unravel all of this negativity that people are
Mm-hmm.
tolerating.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just from our perspective, and the things that are done to us, they're done to other people as well. And I don't believe that this foundation of fear, scarcity, and lack is necessary. There is enough in the world for everyone to enjoy an excellent life without feeling like
Mm-hmm.
some other group is a threat, or some other way of being, or some other way of thinking, or some other naturally born gender or ability. None of that is, a lot of that stuff's not under anybody's control. If you believe in a God, we're all coming from the same God. So Let's respect everyone equally. Let them
Mm-hmm.
be who and what they are.
Mm-hmm. So
I
agree with you, Stephen. That was
So MAGA baby, I'm sorry, no. That idea, that thinking is so retrograde, so antiquated, and so coded with tired racial bias. Let's get real.
and
If we
limited,
want and
limited.
limited, you don't have to be. I don't have to put you on top for me to. You don't have to be on top to be successful. You don't have to crush me to be successful.
No.
Because if you're really all that, my being doesn't impact you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me be what I want
Thank
to
you.
be and do what I want to do.
It is so true
Because I don't
because
want. I don't want to stop you from being who and what you are.
and it's so limiting to what is possible in life. If we wanted to be in the past, then why aren't we living there?
Well, let's just start slavery again. Be
There's a
useful.
gentleman and there's a brother in North Carolina who thinks we shouldn't. I think he should. I think he's right. I think he should be the first one.
Well, I mean, if he's actually, we do still have it. It's called 1 million people behind bars, incarcerated, and making billions of dollars a
Mm-hmm.
year as
Mm-hmm.
illegal slaves.
Slavery.
So we have it. It's allowed, and so maybe he can go and join them.
Yeah, it's a.
Yeah, Stephen, Ione and I were talking yesterday about. Ione, you want to hit it? I'm just waiting. I'm sitting here. I'm
Go
ready.
go
Go, coach.
go ahead
Let's
because
go.
I had to take a second. I'm gonna put up some comments. Go,
Okay.
and then I'll come
Ione
in.
and I were speaking yesterday about the show and about what we feel our show is, trying to hone in on it, sharp focus, right? And we came up with a couple things. One of the things is hope, providing hope for people, providing a safe space, a platform where we are talking about if it's difficult situations, difficult challenges, answers to it, how we
Mm,
can survive, how we can thrive, how we can live and not just exist. And we came upon this a beautiful, beautiful, and I'm gonna give you credit too, because I was talking to you, concept, which was there has always been a we. There's never been a me, never been
Mm-hmm.
an I, never been a you. It's only been we. Is us. Always. From day one, there has been we. And because there couldn't be more of us if there wasn't a we. So we are always we, no matter where you want to segment it, racially, socially, religious, culturally, whatever. We are always a we. Whether we are connected umbilically or not, as a human species, we have always been from the beginning we. And when we understand that, we accept that what affects you affects me. My fears are your fears. How can we get over this struggle together? We can do it. We are in it. Man, this world will change. As long as we are I, you,
Mm-hmm.
we'll continue the strife and the chaos and the challenges and the lines of separation as opposed to the lines of inclusion, you know? And I loved it. That's what our show is about. Our show is about the we, how we can together find ways around it. What you've been saying tonight, it's not as though it's new stuff. It's new because in this moment is new. And you are filled with the truth of the moment. And that's why we say, why are we living in the past when this moment is so beautiful? Because it does engender certain elements like this right here. This conversation is new, it's hopeful, it's visionary, it's progressive, it's all the things that we want to be. It's not political, it's not racial, it's not about money, it's not about any of that shit. It's about people getting together and agreeing to accept that truth is the way. We are the way. Come on, man.
yes.
That is so true, Phil. I mean, during
Yes.
COVID, there was never ever a more profound we than COVID. For all of us who thought we can make it on our own, we're selfish, we're in this alone. We lost the connection to each other, and it was quite emotional and difficult during that time. We all
Excuse
in
me.
the whole world went through a horrible pandemic, closing down of everything. We were in it together. It was the first time I ever saw the sky so blue in California. The birds were
Mm,
chirping. The animals were happy. There wasn't any smog. There were fewer cars out on the road. And one thing our human race did was we missed the human connection. And we really need to get to a point of it's about we. I am what I am, my brother's keeper, my sister's keeper. We are. And if we can stop treating each other as an other, just because your skin is different from mine, you don't speak the same language as I do, your blood is not redder. You still have to eat, breathe air, drink water in order to survive. It's the same. And there's so much hatred and trying to push us to say that's the other. Let the aliens come down here and finally let themselves be known. We'll find common ground.
I'm sure we would. And I must say that, I think this is a critical moment in the history of humanity. And I think that
Hmm.
there are choices to be made, and we can choose dissension, division, pettiness, smallness, destructive environmental practices, and exploitative, fear-based ways forward, or we can challenge ourselves to rise to the occasion and do what we've never dreamed of doing, which is to, take everything we're doing, throw it out, and move towards this greater goal. I don't believe that anybody's ever. You can't even. You're absolutely right. If we all face a common enemy, we will get our what pulled together. And
Hmm.
unfortunately for us in the 20th century, wars twice moved the culture like really really fast.
Hmm.
When you think about what life was like in 1895 and what it was like at the end of World War II, 40 years later,
Hmm.
that was extraordinary. The amount of technology, the amount of shifts that changed. People were in buggies and carriages and early horseless carriages, and by 1941, we were in the atomic age. It's not that long.
Right.
40 years ago would be like saying 1984 right now. So
Mhm.
from 84 to now, we have not changed as much as they did back then.
Hmm.
And but I think we're going to accelerate soon, like that. Where when you if you if you were a young person in 1894 and 1944 came along and you were only 64, your mind would probably be spinning.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Well, the
Hmm.
computer age was upon us, and it exponentially
Ooh,
changed
everything.
everything.
Yes.
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 Everything in the way that the
Yeah.
industrial age did. It's the, I mean, know your history, people. Know your history so you are not doomed to repeat it, and you understand where we are as a society. You don't have to be a student; just be aware of this
Just be
this
aware.
change. Yeah,
Not
yeah,
only not
exactly.
only is it's not only is it informative, it's interesting, and you learn from it because people have made great leaps forward during these cataclysmic moments, and they've also made mistakes. I mean, I
Hmm.
Mm.
think wars are ultimately always mistakes, but
Hmm.
we seem to like them as humans. So what can I do? Uh, but I think that uh, we are in a different kind of moment where the person who comes out and runs and embraces AI, runs and embraces all these things, is going to find, I think, success.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, I've said this before. I did a seminar that I came up with, and I was going to talk about the business. It's called Phil Morris Gives You the Business, and I was
Yeah,
talking to a friend. I know it was like everything, right? Everything about it, other than casting and acting. It wasn't about acting or casting. It was about the process that I wish people would have hit me to when I was a younger actor. You know what I mean? Have less
Hmm.
ego, be more whatever I needed. I was trying to pass on. And so I'm talking to another peer of mine, and he was like, "Phil, I'm so glad you're doing it because this self-tape world is a bunch of shit, and I can't stand it. It's so impersonal, and blah 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 blah." blah. And I listened to him. I listened to all these little whining, niggling complaints he had, and I said, "You know what? I appreciate you, but what if we started our career today?
Hmm.
What would we know about anything? We would just know to do what today says to do. I wouldn't know to be an 8 by 10 dude leaving my part time job at lunch hour to get over to Universal so I could just, barely got a quarter tank of gas trying to get back to my job, getting shit from the manager because I'm not there folding pants at the Britannia jean place I worked at or whatever. I wouldn't have that information because it would be today I would know what is required and I wouldn't have this stuff running me. And he had to kind of shut up and listen
Was that
because
true?
it
yeah.
was so true. When you have nothing to compare it to, you just do what's in front of you to do. You don't
Hmm.
question
Like
it.
we did, because
That's
guess what?
right.
Things were different 100 years ago too, or
That's
70 years
Exactly.
ago. And honestly, the main thing about self-taping is that you better learn to find the advantage in that. You
Thank
don't
you.
you if you are
that's
nervous in a
right.
casting office and you get to do it once, that's the end. Now, yes, I do think the feedback, all those elements are invaluable, but
Hmm.
you can also learn to master the privilege of being able to self-tape and turn that into an asset. You get to do
Mm-hmm.
it 6, 8, 10, as many times as you want to until you get it to your satisfaction, and then you can deliver that. Now that is something very positive, I think.
Didn't
That's what
exist when I was coming up.
didn't at
Right?
all. Not even
You got
not
your
even a
shot, and they sometimes
possibility.
they break, they stop you in the middle of it and say,
Heck
"Thank you,"
yeah.
and that
That's
was
Just take
right.
a
it.
phone call.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Because they
right.
were trying
And
to get through as many people as they could to
mm-hmm.
find that gem. But that's a hard way to give somebody a performance. Now I will say this, that I know that the new rules say that you don't have to be off book, but my advice to anybody is if you can be off book and give them a little performance. Don't be holding that paper because you'll depend on it. That's how I feel, and it's my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. You can call me wrong, but I think that that's the challenge
I don't know.
because
You weigh in. I
honestly,
don't know. I want you to hear what you say because I got lots of opinions about that.
I friggin'
because I
agree with that.
because I
I
think if you're
absolutely
gonna be on
agree with
set,
that.
baby, you're gonna have to memorize some stuff and get it and
That's
deliver it
right.
when
And
it's
they want
needed.
to see the character. They want to see it.
Phil
When you
Phil doesn't agree. Let's hear
No,
it.
no, he
no,
does.
I
He does.
totally agree with you. But
Oh,
here's what I'll say. I just got a job off the self tape. Okay, and it's a big job, good job, cool. We don't talk about it, right? We talked about it earlier. When I can talk about it, I will. But they did say memorization was not required, right? I go in there locked and loaded always because my character doesn't know they're auditioning. They don't carry a script in their hand. If I'm carrying
right.
the thing, it's going to break the reality, right? Okay, there is that. However, there's a part of me that says if I'm so locked in, maybe they don't see that I have the ability to be directed. So I had the paper in my hand and I referred to it not for me, for them, so that they could see that I wasn't so locked in. It gave them a great performance. Obviously, I got the job. But for the first time, I held it and I thought, wait a minute. They're they're looking for an actor who can bring the heat, of course, but who's also malleable. If it's too locked in, can I only do that kind of performance? They don't know that because they're not in the room giving me notes, right? So I don't get a chance to get their note. But what I want to do is give them my certainty with a sense of where this character could go. That's not easy. All
No.
right, that's a whole nother dance to do.
Well, listen, you're
But in
you're
my
speaking from the POV of a master, my man. Not everybody can do that.
That's right. And
well, I guess not. But I do agree with you guys, and I said to the reader, I'm like, what are they paying me for? Why do I have a SAG card if I'm not memorizing it? Where's my work if I'm not coming in here prepared completely to do this role? So I do
Right.
agree
auditioning
with
is
you
our
guys.
job too.
It is. I mean, honestly, once people realize that casting directors want to make the discovery, the
Mm-hmm.
producers want them to make the discovery, your job is not to worry about what the hell they want. If they knew what they wanted, they'd make a straight offer. You need to own your creativity. I thank you, Quentin. You have to own it. I think you've got to just have the confidence that if you're being called in, that whatever you do is going to be good enough or right enough, and they're going to select from a multitude of positions. People forget this often. You may do a great performance, but you don't necessarily match to, hey, the person that's already
Mm-hmm.
set to play your daughter or your wife is a series regular, and the age range isn't working. There's many other factors, or this family really would look right, but I loved him. God damn it, we almost did this, but he couldn't possibly be their son. That kind of stuff. And these things are not to do with talent; they're to do with the overall canvas of the story.
And we
And
have
you
no
have to
no
do.
dominion over that.
What'd you say,
No,
baby?
none.
I said we don't have as an artist, we don't have dominion.
No,
You're absolutely right. I
none of
only
that.
mentioned that. I agree completely. I think there's um, a sense of, and I never look at my self tape, and I go to a place to do it. I don't do it at home. I don't have a friend of mine come in and I don't do that. I go to a place because that's how I grew up. I grew up. I went to Fox. I right on it. Go to Paramount
Hmm.
at 1:45 after their lunch hour. Now they can be tired and they're digesting their food. There's 10 other brothers out there
Some of
who
them
look
are
like
eating their
you.
food.
Hmm. And I have one shot. Do not miss your chance, right? One. So what I do now is recreate that for myself. Because like an athlete, I think that's really powerful. Really powerful to know that when the gun goes off, bam, I'm running my best race. And then I don't look at this tape after I finish it. I don't look at it with the editor. I don't, nothing. I didn't do that when I went to Warner Brothers. They didn't go, hey Phil, you want to look at your tape? You want to see the scene you did? No. No. I laid it down. I went home and I waited for my people to call me. So I don't try to over intellectualize. I think when we look at it again and again and again and again and again, we take the spontaneity out of it. We take the organic quality out of it. We want it to be so perfect and so right. And I don't want to be that anymore. I want to be honest. I don't care about being right.
I
And
do
I
look
think
at
you
the
also,
tapes.
oh, sorry,
I
please.
do look. I look at the tape afterwards, and it depends on how I feel if it touches me. I think it all depends on what you can do. You know what where you are uh in your craft and how you approach it. And I want to mention something Leslie says sometimes if someone is still reading from the script, it becomes more of a performance of just reading the words, not being the words, if that makes sense. That does make sense, Leslie. I
Absolutely.
think it depends on your skill because this is a tool, right? Those sides are they're a tool. And that if you learn how to feel and emote while you're reading that, that is exciting. I've gotten jobs when I haven't worn the suit that they asked to wear. So everybody's different. It all depends on what are you bringing. Phil, what you're talking about is what you're bringing from your heart about it. You're there, you're in it to win it. And that's what they love. So then they don't give a shit if you've got those sides in your hand. Even if they've asked you to memorize, if you've got it there, and every producer, casting director, director are they're all different on what they need from us, right? There isn't one set thing. We're only talking about Stephen, definitely from your side of the aisle of what you've seen that works, and then we're talking as performers what works for us. But I think Leslie, I've gone on stage and I've seen actors who've gone on stage because an actor has gotten sick and they've taken that script and you can forget about it.
But here's one point that you're making. When they go on stage with that script, they may not have memorized the words, but they know who the hell they're playing.
Exactly. That's where I was going. They know that character is. They know what they're doing. They're embodying it. And that's the same thing when you're auditioning. So don't be afraid of those sides. They're your friend. It just
Mm-hmm.
all depends on how you use them.
Yeah.
It, it, it,
And
it
that's
it's
great
it's
advice.
such a sliding scale, and
Yeah.
what I'm saying for me, I want to resonate for who it resonates for. This is my
Absolutely.
process. And I don't
Absolutely.
want to talk about it all the time. We're looking at getting freedom, freeing this instrument enough up enough
Hmm.
to embody this character enough to make an impression so that either the audience responds, casting, producer, whoever, because we don't do it in a vacuum. I'm not going to wake up in the morning and do a monologue and I got it, that's cool, I'm good for today. No, I need it to resonate, and
Hmm.
however I get there is the point. and
That's
and
right. It's different for everybody how you get there.
This
The
is
one
true.
thing you said that's true for everyone. All of it is true for you, and I agree. The one thing you said that's true across board is how does it resonate? The character that you need to live in, not portray, because that becomes acting. So then that's a word, but really live in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, I have a question for you. Quentin Williams asks, hey, Stephen, question. As a beginner actor, is it best to read from the script or just improvise? I will be taking some acting classes soon.
I think that depends on the circumstances. I'm not sure if I completely understand. Um, do you mean in auditioning or do you mean in terms of just learning and practicing your craft?
Quentin, answer that for us, sweetie pie, and add that in the comments so you can have some clarity there because it all depends. If they give you a script and you're auditioning for something, I say read that script.
Read the script because all the answers are in the script. I mean, one thing that is important is knowing how to read and what you're looking for. You know,
Mhm.
who is the character? What are their circumstances? Who are they dealing with? What are their circumstances? What is the relationship between the two? What is the goal of both of these characters? And how does this all come together? And I'm assuming there's two. That sometimes there's more than one character in the scene.
Mhm.
But these are I would say definitely read your text, learn how to uh, discern motivations, circumstances, wants, desires, all, what's overt, what is hidden, you know. I think the most interesting things are the things people try not to show, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want this, but Not really.
Right,
What's the
right.
secret that you are keeping?
Or
Yeah, what's the
anger.
secret?
Where does the anger come from? Is it from fear? Is it from pain? Is it from
Hmm.
loss? Anger isn't just because you're a tough person and you're strong. A lot of anger comes from your insecurities and
Well,
overcoming those.
I feel like, without sounding like a sexist, I think anger is to men what, sometimes tears are to women. That men don't cry so they have outbursts, but they're hiding something else, which is
Hmm.
usually an insecurity or a discomfort.
Hmm.
There's
Quentin, you
some
say
internal
learning and
pain.
practicing my craft. Apologies, Stephen. Baby, no
No
apologies.
apologies needed. Just wanted a little clarity. I would say then, yeah, I would definitely then say in this case, read a script and maybe memorize a line. I mean, because I think these are two different things. Improvisation is taking a set of circumstances with another artist, or sometimes on your own, and then running with it and creating in that way. That's a specific kind of work, and I think learning scenes is another one. So I think neither one is right or wrong. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve.
It all
Yes.
works. It all
Yes, it
works. It all
It
all
all
helps. And I
works.
can
works.
speak.
Yeah.
To have a healthy sense of improvisation helps with what Iona's husband Minyunga would call the ghost notes in drumming. It fills in the in between. The
Mm.
script is more the bones of it, and then the improvisation can help you flesh it out a little bit more. What I like to do, and I'm like a Ben Kingsley guy. He reads the script 100 times, so will I. 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know
Mm-hmm.
everybody's shit. I want to know the universe. I want to know what's playing. I want to know what's going on. I know what I'm doing is as it pertains to everybody else's dilemma. Then I
That's
need to
right.
know what the rhythm of the piece is. So I read the entire thing, the whole thing. But what I also do is that at a certain point when I understand who my character is, I will sit alone quietly and just speak to myself as the character,
Mm-hmm.
why I feel the way I feel, who I'm talking to, why I'm talking to them, what it's all about. Try to get inside and be able to converse as the character, as me as the character, as best I can. And that without the words of the script, without the words of the play, without the words of the text, so
Mm-hmm.
that I can inform myself who this guy is. Then bring that to the text, bring that to the word.
I like to
Let's.
work with I like
Oh,
to work
please.
with
Go
my
ahead.
actors. I love what you said, Phil. I like to work with my actors to have a dialogue with them about what's going on in the scene. They'll say, "Well, let's do the line." Okay, we've already read through it a couple of times. What's happening in the scene? Well, John is no, no, no. You're John. You're Mary. You're the character. Let's talk about. And it is so interesting in their own words, and then you physicalize it. And how does that person move differently than you? How do they walk? Where is their voice really landing? How are they talking? It's not an intellectual thing, it's something that you feel. And I like that when you talk about that you're talking as them, Phil, to yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
that's when it starts to resonate. When I was a young actor, I'd write everything. And for a moment that worked, but it was still here.
Mm.
Once I
Mm-hmm.
started speaking it, start and
Mm-hmm.
got up and moved around, it's right there. The actor I worked with today, I was called in to coach, who was having some trouble. I said, first, we've got to calm down. Let's talk about the scene. We've read through it a couple of times. Okay, let's talk about what's happening there. No, put it down. Put down the sides. And he calmed down so much because then he got to really relate to the character, to the relationships. I love that, Stephen. So important of the people in the scene, what he wanted, where he's coming from. I say you turn into a private eye when you're reading that script.
And I
So
think
many,
that's.
right? Go ahead.
I think that's
We'll
so.
vibe.
No, I think that's so right. And I think that the thing to remember when you're very early in your career is that the your acting is not your acting continues when you stop speaking your lines. And if you're on stage with someone, you may have one line, but what are you? You're just not going to just stand in the corner while you're waiting for your next line. This character has to live and breathe and do things. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that is essentially improvisation. So why is he picking up this glass? He's listening to what's being said over there. He knows he wants that girl, but she's not paying attention to him. She's talking to that guy. Do I feel jealous at a certain point when he says that line? There's a million things you can do that are performed without saying a word. And the same
Mm.
thing I think happens on screen, where the camera loves to read what is happening in the inner mind, inner heart, inner being of a character who may not be saying a word, but is definitely telling you something.
That's
Quite
right.
I was
a
the edit
lot.
point. I was the edit point for an entire movie. They would go out on my look every act break, or I mean, it was I didn't have very many lines at all. It was a movie called Clay Pigeons with Vince Vaughn and Joaquin Phoenix,
So wonderful.
and it's a wonderful film. But I was always like the blow, right? It was right off my face. I'd say some one liner, bam, and bam, they go into another scene. So yeah, and never stop acting if you're doing film or TV until they say cut.
Oh,
Right, right,
Don't stop
right.
acting. If your lines
exactly.
are over, your character doesn't know they're you don't know they're in a situation.
Even
You
if
know,
you're an extra, keep on sipping that
keep
fake
It is
beer.
until they say
life.
cut.
You're living. You're living. Life is happening while you're there. Some of those fascinating characters are when another actor's talking, but what the heck are they thinking about over there?
I always love. I was on the set of the Drew Carey show, the first when they shot the first episode, the pilot, and there was an extra on the show. Her name is escaping because when you hear the story, you'll remember her and know what happened. And she had chosen her. She had seized her moment because Drew wanted these odd characters to work in this uh, store with him, and there was a heavyset woman who uh, was backstage, and she put on some crazy blue makeup, and she had one line. First of all, they saw her and they said, "Stop, give her a line." And she got a line, and her line was funny. And then she made the choice to also be slightly antagonistic to Drew, and that was kind of bold. And the audience is like, ah, "She's great," and they're like, "Stop, give them some more dialogue. Give them some more dialogue. Let's see if this chemistry works."
See,
No, but listen, let me finish. By the end of the night, she had become a guest star on the show,
mm,
and they started writing for her. When they got picked up, she became a series regular.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mimi.
it all goes back to what you're talking about. She inhabited this moment and turned it into
mhm,
something. And even when she wasn't speaking, she was doing something that they found funny, and the audience
mhm.
saw it too because it was shot before a live audience. And so people were reacting to her body language, her costuming. When she walked out, they were tittering about that. She was ready, and she wrote her own trajectory with that.
That's a
One of the
brilliant story.
most, I love that.
True
One of the
story.
most incredible things, and I still remember till this day, was in John Lynn's class, Phil. And this actress who was older than me, all these cute girls had gotten up and done scenes, and everyone was a Twitter. And
Right.
then this woman got up and walked from stage right to stage left without saying a word. And we were riveted. What is she thinking? What does she need? You could tell there was something going on. There was more in that moment than all those cute little scenes, all those sexy little women had done. It was a profound moment that showed me about the embodiment of a character,
Mm.
knowing what is happening. And it's not up here. She's not thinking, okay, I'm going to walk from stage left to stage right in such a way where I'm going to create blah, blah, X. No, she was living, tasting the moment, feeling the moment. Those are the actors that we relate to. Why do we love Viola so much? She's so present. She's so there. She's not thinking about making this moment work. She's thinking about living in the
Mm.
moment.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's so important for actors to know that. I've been in audition. I remember I was working with a director, and I was assisting an assistant director, and we were casting something, and a wonderful actor came in, but he didn't hire him. He said, yeah, he was good. He was good, but he didn't live. Someone else came in who lived. They blew a couple of lines. They weren't necessarily looking the part to me, but they were riveting in what
Mm.
they were willing to give and to fuck up every once in a while, to be dirty, to be in that moment just raw and authentic. And they got the job, and they were wonderful. And so many times we think about how pretty we have to be, how
Mm.
handsome we need to be. We got to
Mm.
wear the right suit. It's what's happening
Guilty
in
as
here.
charged.
Right. What's happening in here. I
Guilty as
want to
charged.
bring up something, you guys. There's a
Kathy
question.
Kinney, by the way, before we go for Kathy Kinney was that actor's name in Drew Carey. She did play
Right.
Yes,
Mimi.
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
just had
yes,
to
Yes.
give
yes.
her her props
She's
because man, that's
amazing.
a dude. That's my show. Those are Diedrich
I
and
mean,
Drew. I
you
love these
if you go
cats.
back and watch that, you'll see it.
Yeah, they're
And
You'll
special.
see it.
you never know where your moment is. I thank you because I want to remember this. There were stand-ins on Blackish when I was their acting coach, and stand-ins would come in and they just look at their nails. There was this one stand-in. She was always coiffed. She always looked like the person she was standing in. She was always present. She got work. And I would walk up to stand-ins. I said, you don't know who's watching. You have no idea. It's like Kathy.
Yeah.
If she
Bottom
had
line is that, yeah. Sorry,
Go ahead,
please.
take it further. You know where I'm going with it. Just what
I
you
know. I'm
said.
like, and you're on that set. You better know somebody that you want to get, whose attention you want is there.
Mm-hmm.
Do something
Mm-hmm.
with it. Doesn't mean you have
Yeah,
to, go crazy.
agreed.
Work
I,
with it.
I'm
Let's, yeah.
I've met so many people that have gone like incandescent. I'm doing the Wanda at Large show. We're killing it, having a great time. I think, in fact, I own Dave Fenoy was doing a voiceover for us at this particular moment.
Okay.
And I meet this little Asian cat, and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Morris, I love your work. I think you're great, but I'm gonna be there too. I'm gonna be boom, 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 boom. Ken
Mm-hmm.
Jong,
Mm.
Ken Jong,
There you go.
straight up. Had never seen him before. Never saw him. Started seeing him in some commercials and doing some things, and then the bachelor party thing came out, whatever that movie was. And that dude just blew up, and he was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right. He was
Mm-hmm.
ready. He was, and
Mm-hmm.
he knew
And
it.
he was well into his 40s.
Yes,
That's
he was a
right. He was
doctor
a
that
doctor
already been
before,
practicing medicine.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, Doctor
maybe
Ken Jong.
he may have been older than that. I don't know, but he was ready.
And this is what you're saying to it's he auditioned guaranteed he had been told no, 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 people not interested, not looking at his audition, but he knew what he wanted and he kept on it. He just stayed with it. Probably didn't
Hmm.
want that little part, whatever he had there on one, but he came ready and to give and to share. Stephen, that reminds me of something that you have said. Annette, I see your question, baby. We're going to get to it. Stephen, you have said, don't come in for what you want from people. Come in to give. Come in with what you're offering. Come in to offer. Come in, and it changes everybody's vibe in the room with you. And that's so important because so many actors come in with, I hope you like me. I hope I can get this job. No, nobody wants anyone who's hungry. Even they know you're hungry because you're there auditioning.
You're
Everybody's
there.
Yeah,
upset.
It's a pretty
yeah.
clear
You could be on somebody
situation.
else's set if you wouldn't have time for
That's
this.
Yeah.
right. So come in there ready to work. There was a period in my life where I screwed up on 3 auditions in a row. I forget a line, something, and I just start to laugh. Booked all 3 of them. And I know the reason I booked because we know you get on a set, you're going to screw up. They want to know that they can work for you and you aren't going to go, ah.
And then freak out and have to be dragged out of your trailer.
And how many do we know that has happened with?
So true. Well, what did I say when we started this? I don't
Hmm.
care about being right. I
Come
just want to
on,
be
Phil.
honest.
Come on.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, because I can miss up a line on set, you know what I mean,
That's
and
right.
will do. I haven't done on this show. This is a Kiss of Death now, but that's not what it's about. And yeah, Stephen, you were talking about. I know you're talking about it. Do I wear the right suit, right shoes? Do I look right? Do I wear the right glasses? Did I shave today? That's not what it's about.
Mm-mm.
It's if
Oh
that's what the
God.
character's about,
I
sure.
used to
But
have
if that's
I
not,
used to have those
mm-mm.
I used to have those conversations with the young actors who would call me and say, "Okay, I need to know what to wear and how to do." I'm like, first of all, excuse me, what? I'm like, you're you're kidding, right? No, no, no. What should I wear? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, that's your job. My job is to get you the damn opportunity. Your job is to create something with it.
Right.
Because if I'm going to start telling you what hat to wear, then I might as well take the damn audition myself. And
And
I,
and and that too.
we already know how that's going to end up. So no.
Right. Right. And that's the end experience. I want to bring Annette is asking a question from something we were talking about before about casting. She says, so the person who wrote the script and created the characters doesn't choose the actor, a casting director does? I never knew that. No, I'll speak and then please you guys speak. No, that's not necessarily true. There is a director who possibly could be choosing. There are producers definitely who are choosing. And depending on what kind of show it is, especially on our show that I'm working on at Papa's house, which is a multicam, the writers of the script are usually in on the auditions and they give comments on who they want, who what auditions they like and who they would like. The casting directors brings the actors, gets all the information of people they know they want to submit and from agents or managers. They submit them, they have the audition, and no, the casting director usually doesn't hire them unless it's a lower part, unless it's an under 5. Am I correct?
I would say, generally speaking, although I've had people say to me recently that even those smaller jobs are now being decided on a studio level.
Okay, so the studio chooses. It all depends on the show. But a lot of times writers, sometimes the writer has no say, but it depends on the show. Multicam they definitely do.
Yeah. But I would say that, television is a producer slash showrunner led medium.
Mhm.
That's, if you have a strong creator, sure, Shonda Rhimes, Kenya Barris, somebody like that, Ryan Murphy, they're making choices. But
Mm.
generally speaking, it is the great food chain up above that get has to weigh in on that. I mean, we've had something sometimes where it's been the studio choice and has to go through the network. And then the network has to. So there's a lot of people that make these decisions. A lot of suits sign off on these things.
Yep.
And that used to
Yeah,
be just for the regulars, but now they're getting involved in everything. This is an
everything.
this is an interesting question. Phil, I'll let you start on this one. But this is how much energy from our coach. How much energy do you put in your scenes without exhausting self?
Well, that's a great question because in the scene, I hold nothing back. Right in the scene,
Hmm.
there is no exhaustion. Um, so in between, it can vary. It all depends. Like the character that I'm doing now is intense. He's got a very dysfunctional relationship with one of the members of his family, and it's very difficult. So there's a lot of that I have to hold on to because you can't just turn it off and turn it on, turn it off and turn it on when
Mm-mm.
it's that deep emotionally. But I can't hold it all night long when it's raining and it's 55 degrees in Vancouver, and I would wear myself out. So you find various ways to break it, whether that's walk away from the set, go to the tent where you have your heater on and maybe just chill for a minute if you can, and you have the kind of relationship with your guest people or your co-stars that you can chat or have a light moment. Do that. It's hard in television to work from the complete method book because time is not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to hold on to these things a little bit more. Comedy's different. You want to be light and airy and fun, and so joking around and clowning for me is great. But on certain shows like this one, it's hard. It's an hour drama. There's a lot of activities, a lot of action. So I have to keep my physical self ready for when they say action. So I can't be just joking around and be on my phone and all distracted from what the job is at hand. You have to be focused. And that's one of the reasons why they hire you too. They hire you for your professionalism.
That's
Can you do
right.
the job?
That's right.
There's a lot of people who are very talented. They can't get a performance out of them in time.
Mm-mm.
They waste
Mm-mm.
time. It's difficult to find them. They're not on their mark. They're not hitting their words. They might be great actors, but in terms of television and the time constraints, there's also that sort of, and I guess you were speaking to it a little bit, Stephen. Yeah, I'm a master of this stuff. I'm a master of TV. I'm a master of television comedy. I know where my mark is. I know how to work well with every single player that's on that stage. I know how to work well with all 4 or 5 cameras that you got. I'm a director's wet dream. Um, but the place I have to be most considerate of is my character. So my energy is reserved for them, and everything else supports that. If that makes sense.
And I'd like to add to that of we don't go into the day going, okay, I've got this much energy, and so I'm only going to put out this much energy because I'm going to be really tired. No, you give 1,000% on each take, and with that, especially in television, once you get it, you might want to get a second one to make sure that there's a safety, but you're moving on. When I directed Lawrence Fishburne in the Blackish episode, I knew when Lawrence, there was a very emotional scene that we did. There were several, but there was one in particular. And I knew Lawrence was coming prepared. Phil Master, Lawrence Master, he came prepared. He was ready. So I didn't do a lot of takes with him because I knew I was getting it. And if I had a note, very few words, and we got it. And there was one time we needed to do another one. Lawrence said, I think I only got one more in me
Mm.
because
Mm.
he was giving. I said, "You got it." And we made some adjustments with our cameras. We went and we got the shot beautifully. But none of us as actors go in, and good actors will go in and saying, "Well, let me hold off." No. Let me just so I don't exhaust myself. You give it all, right?
Yes. Yes.
I
Stephen,
agree.
this has been wonderful. I got to tell you, at one point during our conversation, I looked up and it was 6:45, and I went, "Damn, it seems like we've only been talking for a few minutes." And then I look back up and it's 7:15. And
Oh my goodness.
always, Stephen, you are just, and you will be back with us, my brother, because
I
what
always
you,
have a good time with you guys.
we're so
You're
glad
wonderful,
because
bro.
what you had, yeah, the
Wonderful.
Hangover movie. Thanks, Quentin.
The
The
Hangover, right?
Hangover.
Thank you.
What you have to offer is Ruth, Phil, Ruth.
Ruth found
Ruth
us.
Waits, she found us. So glad you're here. Annette Sarnicola found us. And you guys, I just want to really acknowledge because I thought this was really exciting to me. BAM, New York City, NYC found us, which is really awesome. They're an
Mm,
incredible space in New York City, Brooklyn, right?
yes.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful space. So glad you're here with us. Dark Rain Studio. Bring some more folks. This has been wonderful. And before we get to our last closeout, because we like everybody to give words of wisdom, I just
All
want
right.
to hold on. Let me turn up. Let me turn up my sound here. Let me pull in a little ah little mellow music. I want you to know where you can find us, Stephen. This is your info. Alta
That's
Global
me.
Media is Stephen's company. Also, I want you guys to look up, which we never got to, Holly Shorts. Fabulous short film festival. We got to invite Phil the next time
Oh yeah,
to
for
one of the
sure.
events. I'll bring him as my date. Uh,
Consider it done, Phil.
yeah,
Thank you.
you will
Honored.
Phil. You will love the vibe. Look up Holly Shorts, you guys. It's an Oscar nominating short film festival that Stephen is a part of with wonderful, wonderful partners. Really great. So here's Stephen, Alta Global Media on Instagram, Facebook, and also their website. And that handsome devil, the Phil Morris. This is where you can reach him everywhere. And this is, oh, she's so pretty. Look at, oh, that's me. This is where you can reach me. I own a lot of gold as we go on, and where you can find our show. And please go to our website and check us out. Just so happy to have you here with us, Stephen. And as we end this wonderful show of inspiration and wisdom, please share with us some words of wisdom from yourself that you would. It could be about acting. It'd be about just the world in general. It'd be about whatever stirs you show. You know the drill. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, let me think of what my greatest words of wisdom are right now. I think that the life we lead is more under our own control than we understand. I think we have to choose to live the way that we want the world to be, in love, in light, in generosity, and in beauty. And I think that's all I have to say about it right now. Choose those things, and everything else will get better because it's up to us to make it what we want it to be.
Hmm. That was beautiful, Stephen. Thank you, Phil. You want to take this first one
Um,
between us?
yeah, yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Stephen, for being here, sparking such great conversation and thoughts. Um, what to say? You know, I think that this village that we are creating, our lives on our journey, is pretty special, and we don't do this alone. You know, I wanted to talk to Stephen Adams about being one of the advocates in my sister's career, certainly, and now mine with this show and with other things. We need advocates. We need champions. We need teammates. We need people who will accept and support who we are, whether or not they agree with us or they don't. Um, it's important for us to acknowledge that we are not alone in this journey, that you do not walk by yourself, that there is always someone beside you or in front of you or behind you, carrying the torch, reaching back with the torch. And Stephen's right. I think our lives are more in our control than we give it credit for. And I think also in that way, there are more people who will support you in your life than you rightly know or you acknowledge. Allow that to come, and give yourself grace, give others grace, and be grateful for the next moment that you have and the moment that you live in right now. Um, I will see you guys, hopefully, universe willing, in a week.
I love that
All
so
right.
much. Look at these two handsome, fabulous men. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. Stephen, thank you so much for coming back on our show. You're just wonderful. And of course, being here with my bro. I want to talk about when we're looking back the way it was.
Hmm.
Only if I could live in the present. Stephen said, it's better right now and it's going to be better tomorrow. So many times, Phil gave an example of tonight about how I hate some of the new things that are going on, some of the new technologies, self tapes, other things, AI, and other things in the world that are happening right now that I just can't get with. Get with it. Stop thinking about what you can't do. Think about what you can do. If you're in a space right now where adjustment to new things is difficult, just take a breath. Source out how you can figure it out. Source out how you can move yourself forward within what has changed now. COVID has changed everything for us. It's always so surprising to me when people are complaining about this and that and the other that isn't the same. Well, yes, it's not the same since COVID. And you know what? It never is always the same. Life is always changing, the universe is always evolving. What is that one phrase? Change is the only constant we can definitely count on. So if you remember that and you go with the flow, and sometimes it's rocky, sometimes it's really messed up, stay in that space and figure out what you need to do so you can smooth the waters and you can move forward. Don't run from it. It's freaking difficult. This life ain't easy, baby. Ain't none of us gonna get out of it alive. Ain't none of us gonna get out of this without tears and pains and struggle and strife and all of that. But you know what? A diamond comes from black coal, and all of that friction makes it a perfect, beautiful gem. You are a perfect, beautiful gem. Become that for you and live in the moment, the most powerful present you could ever receive. Thanks for being here, everybody. Love you, Stephen.
Thank you,
Sending
brother.
my love back.
Thank you,
It's
Phil.
always wonderful to be
Fiona,
on the show.
Awesome. Have
you
a
guys
great
are
week, you
amazing.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you both.
See y'all. And, always my ending. Night, Philly.
Night all.